Okay, maybe we can start. I think I see more people. So welcome everyone. Good afternoon. Happy to see you all again. And welcome to the third day of webinar organized by BIT and held by Eleonora Brizzi as part of the FLUX Academy program. So today we are diving into a topic that is very fascinating, and you will explore the relationship between NFT and traditional art institution. So I'm sure that at the end of this webinar, you will have a lot of questions and thoughts. So we really look forward to listen your ideas, and your question also during the webinar, of course. I think today is not necessary to do again the presentation of FLUX because yeah, I see all the face that I saw in the other days, not the name also. So I will leave the floor to Eleonora for this hour of webinar that will be very interesting and strong. So thank you, Eleonora, and I'm here to listen to.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the webinar. Today I'm very excited because I found such good sources, even for myself, that actually, like, my friend has been working on this for like a year, but I never really checked so much in depth as I have done for this webinar. But it's I mean, with a couple of links, I will save your life and give answers to many of your questions, as it's a very good website. So I'm talking about We Are Museums. So today, the first webinar we have seen together, again, like just to summarize the history of NFT and art and creative space. And then last time we have analyzed what happened at a certain point in 2021 with the sale of Beeple NFT and consequences of that. And then I thought that it would be interesting as a third webinar to go through really like what has been happening in the art world after Beeple, obviously. So last time we talked about like the auction and the reaction of the art world and how, and then you had questions about how like, you know, how was like, how the market has been going after that. Is it like up? Is it going down? Is it back? Is it accepted in the art world, etc.? So today, we'll talk about institutions. And so we'll talk about the two sides of it, how like the art world has actually stepped into the NFT space and then retired and then came back, and how they did that, and how the NFT space has been reacting to that, and how, for instance, like, you know, many of the platforms that are surviving in the NFT space, the native platforms, have actually becoming galleries. So what happened? So we always have to start from the Beeple sale. So we just mentioned that briefly that the main reason for which the art world got interested in NFTs and blockchain technology was because of money. Because after a sale like that, everyone got very interested in participating. But then we also said that there was a boom and this bubble was created, and that the bubble exploded. And so it's been like a couple of years that we can't even nominate the word NFT anymore in art institutions. On the other side, with Beeple, because also the Beeple sale happened with Christie's, which is the most famous, I mean, auction house together with Sotheby's. What has been happening is that all the values that have been stated by the crypto art space and the NFT space and the blockchain space have actually been a little bit given up on by the artists themselves and by the galleries, by the platforms themselves, to try at any cost to actually be approved by the art world, which was the same world that they have, you know, that the technology has been used to be defeated. And then after all this mess of 2021 and 2022, 2023 was an awful year of bear market, so no sales, and like many artists had to go back to the jobs that they had before becoming NFT artists in 2021. But with the negativity of a bear market, there's also something very positive that usually happens, which is cleaning. So we all said that we were cleaning house. And so the artists, the platforms, and the people who were actually there and they had intention to stay, in fact, stayed. And a lot, not all of it, but a lot of the speculation and speculative projects got cleaned out. What happened for the art world? When the art world saw the bear market, so that the bubble was gone, that the bubble like exploded, then they finally started to understand that it's not only about NFTs and the blockchain, which is behind these artworks, but actually these artworks that have been created and marketed and transacted with the blockchain are contemporary art. And it's some of the most creative and some of the greatest artworks that have been created in the past years. And so they started to show some interest in more institutional way. Again, like almost like forbidding a certain terminology. And we finally got like last year to a few museums acquiring entire collections of NFTs, referring to that as blockchain art. God forbid they use the word NFTs, but we talk about the Centre Pompidou. We talk about like huge institutions who now have a permanent NFT collection. So something is being happening. It doesn't matter if they want to use the terminology, but somehow they let this digital art angle, this little piece of the digital art cake to enter the institutions as well. So today I have, let me share my screen. We'll go through the website together. Please just unmute your mic while I talk and ask questions, because we're just gonna navigate this fantastic website that I'm going to show you now and look together at, and also there are many sources that I'm just going to share this link with you later, and you can see yourself, but let me share the screen. Okay, so here. So this is WAC, which is like a program created by We Are Museums. We Are Museums is like an NGO, French NGO. But anyways, they take care of educating museums and institutions on how to use the blockchain and how to feel comfortable with it, and the big value that the blockchain can have for museums communities, for museum transparency, for obviously acquiring contemporary art, etc. It's amazing. It's been an amazing program, and the website that they have created here, that again, I looked at in depth for the first time, basically everything that you need to know you can find here. So for instance, just put this here. So here you can find, even if you're not you don't work in a museum or an institution or any of that. I want to try, sorry. So even if you're not in an institution, please, this is the Bible on this website, a brief blockchain glossary. What is a blockchain? Definitions of cryptocurrencies, DAO, digital fingerprint, digital signature, fiat, minting, everything that you want to know about what is a smart contract, wallet, a token, what is Web3, you can find here. And then they explain you what is the difference between Web 2 and Web 3. And then a little bit of history of NFTs and how we got to get NFTs into the institutions. But what we're really interested in, let me read, is the adoption of NFTs in museums and institutions. And so here you have use cases, which I don't understand why it's not charged. It's probably my internet. So for instance, Agoria. So Agoria is a French artist. I have witnessed this last year. It was one of the best parties I've ever went to in my entire life. So Agoria is a French artist and musician DJ, and he did a collaboration with the Musée d'Orsay. So the Musée d'Orsay was also into programming. We walk, so they go through a whole like boot camp and like consultancy and like classes, and it's almost like an incubator where they learn about the blockchain and how they can use it for their institutions. And what they have done, they have presented in the main hall of the Musée d'Orsay, where you have all the sculptures. They have presented like a few pieces of Agoria, and then at night they have done something that, for instance, like in Italy, I don't think that can never happen. They have let Agoria to DJ for a concert at night in the museum, and people were just sitting and dancing with all the sculptures, and they were just they regulated the sound coming out of speakers to not damage the like the old paintings, but they did have a concert. They had a collection by an artist, and they opened the Musée d'Orsay for what we call blockchain art. So here you have like a few examples. And at the Serpentine, Hack Basel, which I'm sure that you know. MoMA Postcards is a project that I also participated in. So basically, like you could pick a community, and each community will have to create a collective postcard. And also this was all on the blockchain. So this comes from MoMA. It was a very fun experiment. And there was a theme for the postcard that was created, and you have to pass after you draw your square. So after you do your piece of the postcard, you have to pass the permission to another person to create. And then MoMA just experimented with this collective project on the blockchain to give access to their people and explain like also like in a fun way, explain the technology. So this happened in MoMA also last year. We have done one postcard with a residency that we do in France. It was very fun. And I think that unfortunately, my internet is very slow. Then if you also go like on this is all files that you can download. One I have open here already. So as you can see, Web3 for arts and culture. Again, they explain to you like, like how you can take an institution into the journey of Web3. And also like they really touch upon all the kinds of problems that an institution can encounter with the blockchain. But I think that it's also very useful for you as creators, like copyrights, like how do you acquire, how do you collect, can people donate an artwork, can you receive as a museum? For instance, like last year when I went to the opening of the, okay, I'm going to show you the document. So this, you can all download these documents, or they also talk about their project, obviously. But again, it's very, very useful. You can find very useful suggestions to your question. What makes a good first project for cultural institutions exploring Web3? And then this is another document that I opened from there. So I suggest for you to download and read. And then we will go to another link very soon. As you see, like, what are the opportunities for Web3 and museums, or the challenges? Like, how do you preserve digital art? I think that these questions are like the big, elephants in the room that we all have. It's not only for institutions, but the fact that they put together all these studies and like, and like webinars and education because of institutions, because obviously institutions matter. And so like to facilitate the entering of the space of like the art market and the art world, but it's very useful for all of you and all of us as well, because it is all the questions that we all have, like preservation. How does it work? Do you know how an NFT works? What does it, like, what happens if something I don't know, like if you're gonna lose, like if something changes in the hash, are you gonna lose your artwork? The answer is yes. There are people who are working on like creating system where you can actually download the image from your NFT that corresponds exactly to the hash where it is minted, but it's a real solution hasn't been found yet. The only way to preserve the file is actually to preserve it like separated. So it's all things like becoming, and it's all questions that that I believe everyone has. And this you should really read. What are some of the legal and regulatory implications museum have to consider? For instance, are royalties. Okay, how is a museum gonna do with royalties? So when NFTs started getting mainstream attention in the pandemic, one of the promises for artists was that they have a cut of all secondary sales of their work built into the tech. And we talked about this and discussed the fact that the royalties were coded by Dada the first time, you remember, like in 2017. In October 2022, Galaxy Digital Fund found that NFT creators on Ethereum had made 1.8 billion in royalties. But after the market crash, we saw NFT marketplaces like OpenSea drop the artist royalties to 0% one by one, in an attempt to protect their business and give traders more of the margin on their sales. How was that possible? So this is a new trend, which is also like you should know about, because obviously when I was talking about the history of NFTs and the blockchain, I always, try to make it very positive, because it is something that was created in a positive way. But lately, in the past years, as you can see here, we are witnessing platforms that are really encouraging collectors to not pay the royalties. How? They have coded on the platforms the possibility for the collector to decide not to pay the royalties to the artist. So in the past webinars, we mentioned that it is for like an agreement of all platforms, it is a 10% that each collector should pay to the artist every time that the work is resold. And so what does it mean? If a collector, so if I buy an NFT for $100, and then I'm gonna sell it in the secondary market for like $200. I have to pay, like, in the smart contract, the smart contract will automatically pay the 10%. So $20 to the artist. But who doesn't miss this money is the collector. Like me selling the NFT in the secondary market, I am going to give a cut from, instead of like getting $200 from the new collector, I will get 180 because $20 go to the artist as a secondary market fee. And unfortunately, in the past 2 years, we have seen more and more platforms and collectors who decided that they really don't want to pay the royalties. And obviously, and the problem is that the platforms allow that with the code. So like giving the possibility in the platforms of deciding of not paying royalties. So it is also true, and you should consider now that you see it here, that it is not true that at today, all artists receive royalties in the secondary market, because this new phenomenon has born. And to stay in what is the topic of our webinar today, what has actually been happening is that artists that now don't have secured royalties anymore with the blockchain, what they have been doing basically is that they went back to the artist proof. So you see more and more artist proof like circulating even on the blockchain. It's like, okay, 5 editions plus artist proof, or a 101 plus artist proof. And so we are back to the old system of the art world, when artists know that in the future will never be paid in secondary market, because now this is the reality. And so they keep an artist proof that they can sell in the future as the royalties, so to make money. So this is just like a parenthesis, but very interesting. And so like here, they're also trying to explain to the museums how the situation with the royalties work. And again, yes, here we're back at the projects that you can check. But what I want to show you also is another page that I have. I have to stop sharing this, which is the actual collections that have been happening, acquisitions. So here. This is a whole Notion page that these amazing people have created, as you can see, with all like everything that you can think about for the blockchain to be used in museum, like how do you manage the digital assets, blockchain-based art registry, collection preservation, authentication and provenance, ownership and transaction, audience engagement, community building. Of course, these are all things that are very, very useful for an institution to learn today that they can do with the blockchain. Fundraising, and then we are at the permanent collection that we want to look at. So actually, yeah, this is also important to read. On-chain art or NFT art acquisition. So museums accept donations or acquire art that is stored on the blockchain, NFT art, but also art which is actually created within the blockchain environment, on-chain art, where the blockchain itself becomes a novel and innovative artistic medium. This we'll see tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll see a few projects of blockchain as a medium. Examples. So this actually this happened in 2015 in Vienna. There was the acquisition of event listeners by Harm van der Dorpel, who is an amazing artist, by the MAC Vienna. So the Centre Pompidou, they're very happy to say they were the first ones to acquire NFTs, but it's not true. There were all the institutions that acquired NFTs already in 2015. Everyone always wants to be the first. Obviously, the resonance that the Centre Pompidou has is very different, but yes, so MAC Vienna becomes the first museum to use Bitcoin to acquire art. So here you have an article where you can find all the information. ZKM acquired several NFTs, which is also interesting. So they acquired a CryptoPunk in 2017, but they don't have access to the CryptoPunk anymore. something happened with the keys, and so they don't have access to that anymore. But they did acquire in 2017. Yes, so here you have an article, this is just talking about a little bit about like what it means to collect with NFTs. This, which is one of the first artworks that I have ever met on the blockchain multiple times in New York, which is the 89 seconds atomized. By Eve Sussman. She was everywhere. When I was in New York in 2018, every event, this artwork was presented. But this artwork was pretty amazing because it was atomized. So it was one of the first like attempts to, they don't show it here. Let's see, I want to show you this. One of the first attempts of creating a fractionalized artwork. So there was a painting by Eve Sussman, and you can acquire an atom, like an NFT. It's just a little piece of the painting, so like a mosaic. And then based on who was collecting what, you will see the video with black squares or revealed squares of pixels, based on the collectors. Let's see if we can find this on the internet, just to show you. Yes. This is the entire, here you can see, I mean, I can't find a photo where you see like atomized, but anyway, so you can search and you can see that like until it was completely collected, or if some collectors decided not to show their atom, then you will see like missing pieces on the digital, on the video. This work was donated to Whitney Museum by Snarkart, because Snarkart is used to be a platform for NFTs, also born, I believe, in 2018. I know all of them, and they were based in New York, and they were really like the big promoters of this experiment with atomization of the artwork, fractionalization. An interesting thing to know about fractionalization is that there were many platforms or projects trying to do that, but in the end, it never worked. The fractionalized ownership seems like never really responded to, you know, like human nature of like the need and the will and the desire of being the sole collector of an artwork, if not just for an investment, which is different. Like, okay, you invest a 10% like on a Picasso painting, but for digital art and new art, like contemporary art, the fact of having like multiple owners on a piece of digital art never really worked. Like in 2018, there were multiple platforms that I remember they were trying to promote this, but in the end it never worked. So there's only like let's say like one collector usually for artworks. And then of course, Jennifer and Kevin McCoy, also the Whitney Museum, in 2021. Okay, so here, okay, so let's mark a thing. So until 2019, which is before Beeple, we have contact with the Whitney Museum and the ZKM, ZKM, and the Vienna Museum MAC. Then from 2021, obviously, like after Beeple, things start to move in a different way. So there is, for instance, like John Gerard donated an edition to LACMA, which is the LA Museum, and Linz, Austria, Guido Cuxo, which is a project that I do not know. And then Barabasi, which is Barabasi had an amazing exhibition at the Meet last year. So a network visualization made for the exhibition Barabasi Lab, Hidden Patterns, has been minted as an NFT and acquired by Ludwig Museum in Budapest. So you see that now, like after 2021, beginning, like they tried to to show interest. You see how many in 2021. Then there is a donation of a CryptoPunk to the ICA Miami. So a collector who bought a CryptoPunk donated to the institution, which is also interesting because that's also what happened at MoMA. This is another interesting thing to talk about. Like, art institutions don't have money. So many of them that can't even acquire, that can just receive donations, but those that can acquire that do not have money. So what happened, like for instance, with Refi Canadol and MoMA is that, I mean, they have donors. So our collectors like Pablo Fraile and other people from Switzerland acquired the Refi Canadol piece, and then they have donated, I believe, to MoMA, that put the Refi Canadol piece in the permanent collection of MoMA. So you see a lot of this phenomenon where like private collectors from our own space, from the NFT space, buy artworks and they donate to institutions. And then then other see Algorand, also like a project blockchain that Pablo Fraile is using, and then Hack in Basel, LACMA. So here we are like in 2022, and in 2022 the biggest thing that happened was this one, and I was there. So the Buffalo Museum. The Buffalo Museum in Miami bought a very big collection of NFT of blockchain art. They call it blockchain art. They had a whole opening panel and for about these amazing artists that they have collected, but they decided that they didn't want to have anything to do with NFTs, and they kept calling it blockchain art, and it really was like NFTs. Anyways, you should check the collection that they have acquired, because it's very, so for instance, Michel Chan is one of the few artists who uses the blockchain as a medium. And then they acquired La Turbo, they acquired Sofia Crespo, and many others. Sarah Friend. So you see, like Ria Meyers. Okay, so they did actually move conceptually towards art, which is really using the blockchain as a medium. So it's not only NFTs, meaning that it's like, digital art pieces attached to a token. So they tried to be, I'm very happy that these artists are collected in the Buffalo Museum. I found the whole procedure very like presumptuous, of like pretending that a certain part of the blockchain art doesn't exist, and like almost like an intellectual exercise. But the art that they acquired is amazing, and thankfully many of these artists here, which I'm gonna tell you who, like Mitchell Chan, Simon Denny, Sarah Friend, and Ria Meyers are artists who use the blockchain as a medium conceptually. The other artists are NFTs, like AI or any other kind of technology. But so they wanted to put a flag with the fact that we are not acquiring NFTs, we are acquiring blockchain art. And there was a switch. This is why it is so important, the Buffalo collection. But go to check it. Anyways, you will find it here. And then and then the big event, which is the Centre Pompidou. So Centre Pompidou, they collected, so 2023, I was there for the opening. It was very emotional because I believe that the first day when we were going through the document with all the projects, like historical projects, we talked about the autoglyphs created by the same creators of the CryptoPunks, so Larva Labs, and the fact that we all thought one of the first generative project completely on-chain data recorded autoglyphs. And in 2019, we said that we felt that it would be in a museum, and the Centre Pompidou acquired a huge autoglyph print and the NFT, obviously. And it was very, to think that this is also an interesting point. So we talk about, like, if the feeling is that we're talking about 500, 1,000 years of history, but we're talking about 10, actually like 6, 7. So autoglyphs were created in 2019. And the fact that in 4 years, you make it into Centre Pompidou is very something to think about. And so for the CryptoPunks took 6 years to be in the Centre Pompidou, and this other took like 4 years. But you know, in the past, let's say until now, before the use of technology and a space like the one of the blockchain, it wouldn't take 4 years to make it into a permanent collection of Centre Pompidou. And also I was around, because I was in Paris for like a month when this thing happened at the Centre Pompidou, and also, like, I was talking to you know, people who also helped the Centre Pompidou, like, to curate the pieces that they acquired. And they were talking to me about, which is another interesting thing, they were talking to me about how a museum like the Centre Pompidou, how they had to manage the wallet for the artworks. So, like, they had to go through the central bank. So the Centre Pompidou, they can't just open a wallet and so one has the keys. Like, who has the keys? Like the director of the Centre Pompidou, the director of the digital section, like people, if you can't do that. And so the paradox is that they, in order to acquire decentralized art, transacted, all of it was passed on the blockchain, obviously, because it went from the wallet of the artist to the Centre Pompidou. They didn't acquire anything. It was all donated by the artist. They had to go to the central bank of France, who created a wallet for them. And so the bank has the keys of the wallet, and it's legal and secured by a third party that helps an institution like the Centre Pompidou to have, like, maintain a collection like this in their wallet. And then, as you can see here, like, we have many, what we were talking about, like, we have, like, for instance, like Cosimo de' Medici, influencer, whatever, like this huge collector. He has donated 22 artworks by 13 artists to LACMA, like in LA. And here we go back to what I was talking about at the beginning of the webinar today. The space got corrupted as well. Like, why are our people, instead of, you know, creating new institutions, why are our people in the end doing everything they can to put this art in the institutions that was one of the main reasons for which this entire system was created? It's all very interesting and paradoxical. It's all, it seemed like everyone fought against something until this something that they were fighting against showed up with power. Because they don't have money, they have power. They have the power of recognition and putting you on the art books. And everyone is very happy to give their artworks to Christie's, to even bring collectors to Christie's, because Christie's doesn't even bring collectors. They only put the name. So we give the works, we give the collectors, but it's stamped by Christie's. So this is a phenomenon that is very interesting to think about. And so why does a collector who owns like these amazing artworks want to donate 22 pieces to LACMA? I don't know, for recognition. So in the end, you see that there is a balance between a space that didn't make it in the sense of like, but it didn't make it because the moment that they could take advantage of the art world, they did. And the art world, which is completely extracting from the space, completely, because they don't really like, provide anything in exchange. Institution, I mean, art market world. Institutions is a little different because institutions always give you something. But what they really give is the recognition and the glory. And in the end, that's what, like creators and artists and are interested about. So this is all like becoming, okay, here's Rafi Canadol. Yes, which is donated by Outland, but maybe did acquire. I was pretty sure that Pablo and friends that have like donated the NFT, or maybe they just facilitated the acquisition. But the other NFT was, so the Museum of Modern Art announces an innovative slate of fall 2020 exhibition art collaborations, acquisitions of works by Rafi Canadol and Yan Cheng, the presentation of a large-scale video by Lizzie. Okay. And then Dead Beef, who is an amazing artist using the blockchain as a medium. Yes, I believe that these were donated because they call it acquisition. Even the one that was donated, they call it acquisition. But I am even not sure that they can actually like acquire. And yeah, and then there is the Castello di Rivoli in Italy that acquired. They acquired. They acquired an NFT by people because people donated it. So these acquisition terms are very like, when it comes to institutions, usually it has to be a donation. Okay, I mean, we can go on with these websites forever, but I would like to have some conversation here about what we have seen, but also like I want to also add that, for instance, so when there in 2023, last year during the big bear market, many NFT platforms and marketplaces have failed and closed or like fired people. We started to realize that the only ones that are almost making it and like survived are those that were capable to understand the time and what was going on and adapt. And unfortunately or fortunately, the adaptation of that was required was for NFT platforms to start having like IRL events and communities and like gatherings, etc. So the physical like presence, which is fine. But what is really happening, and I know because I work with one of those, and it's one platform that is hopefully making it, which is Maker's Place. These NFT marketplaces became galleries, 100% galleries. So for instance, actually, if you are in Paris, please come. I am curating this exhibition of generative and AI photography on the occasion of Paris Photo. It's not going to be inside the fair. It's going to be in Paris in a gallery at the Marais. It's a maker's place show. It's a gallery show. It works like a gallery. There is a cocktail. There is a dinner for collectors. There is private view for collectors. There is a PDF where you reach out to people for to acquire the works. There is one-to-one connection with the collectors, desperate need of finding collectors. And there is a catalog, and there is an opening, there is a panel. So there is nothing that you can think about of innovation as marketplaces were supposed to do. So marketplaces are back or are forward to be art galleries, because that's what everyone wants, including the artists. Artists want physical shows, they want collectors, they want VIP dinners, and they want previews. Everyone wants that. Everyone is happy. So there's not like unhappy people. And so the art world took a step ahead, and then a step back, and then a step ahead. From my perspective, extracting from a space that an artist that, like we have been working with artists like Operator, like I've been knowing Operator since 2019. You know them, you work with them, you grow with them, you help them to become who they become with projects and curation. And then when they become what they become, the goal is to go to an art institution. And so the MoMA or the LACMA or the Serpentine or whoever takes them from a space that was created around them to create the base for these artists to be consigned to contemporary art institutions. So for me, it's more on the extraction side, like extraction side for the art world. But then there is the NFT space that is completely fine with doing that. Why? Because it was not capable of building an actual alternative. Like we don't have our own institutions. We don't have an alternative to MoMA, probably. We didn't probably work enough on that. But the reality is that all the artists want to go to institutions and they want exhibitions. And so I guess what I'm trying to say is that the revolution stopped for now in the market space. And then you always have obviously like in underground, amazing creators that are doing things that are even not explicable. Fantastic that are out of all these like games of being collected or in institution. There are revolutionizing the world with AI and blockchain and combining the two of them. But that's different from the art market as we know it and what we are studying today. So anyways, if you have any questions, but also if you don't have questions, please, I would like to know what you think, also like your opinion about all these institutions, acquisitions, and what's been happening, or if you have an experience. Christina.
I have no experience, but I have, interesting thing is this, what you mentioned about Eve Sussman. I have seen her video 89 seconds in Alcazar. It's fantastic video. It's really fantastic work. And I was wondering whether this NFT that she produced, it is kind of recycling of her artwork, which was which was officially video art and which was part of contemporary art, which is really fantastic. So I know her as one of really important contemporary artists, and I noticed that she is recycling her work. And I would like to know, I don't know about some other contemporary artists, if they did something similar to that. Maybe I didn't say appropriate word, recycling. Maybe
exactly. I wanted to ask you, explain recycling. So you mean like, let's say going back to an artwork that was already created by them and repurpose the artwork for like experimentation.
Yes, yes, that. I don't think that for us recycling means something bad, but it sounds bad. But well, definitely it is a fact that that 89 seconds in Alcazar existed as video work. It is very hard to find it because I was looking for it for so many times, and it is really hard. And now it exists as NFT, which is, I don't know, sold, and everyone has got piece of it. It is one very interesting way how one work can be, let us say, reused, or I don't know, I can't find appropriate word.
Relive a new life.
Yes.
Like at least she did it in a very experimental way, you know.
Yes.
Like there's also artists who took artworks from the past and they just tokenized it. But this is a whole like experiment with pixels and atoms and fractionalization and collective ownership, which I found it was very interesting. Even for the blockchain space, it was one of the most interesting experiments that happened, because when they were doing this in 2018, it was crazy that you can think about having more people collecting together on one smart contract the same artwork in pixels, and if it doesn't get collected, the artwork doesn't actually show. So you had like these, you know, black parts on the video. Who else has done that? Besides like many artists who just have used artworks that they were not able to commercialize in the past and just brought it to the blockchain just to, you know, yeah, just to give it for the market.
This is just interesting connection between contemporary art and NFT. Just one option, but this is really beautiful option.
Yeah, but this one, exactly. But this one was done in a very nice and experimental way. So I will think about if I know about a work that was already existing and then it got repurposed for something like experimental like this. I will think about that. Because now I can't really. This was one of the most interesting ones that we had. It was very cool.
I would like to know names of artists that, as you say, are continuing the revolution underground. Do you have names for us to know?
You know, I mean, it's a little sad. I think that it's not possible. I think that once that you arrive at market, that you are in the market, you are hopefully you have done your revolution. Then you can continue to obviously experiment, because an artist is an artist. I don't know, I guess what I'm trying to explain is that there are like communities of, so for instance, I can know a person who's here with me. So he's a creator and he's using Comfy UI. You know, like this.
Yes, it's stability AI, it's intelligence.
Exactly.
Yes,
Exactly. Like AI crazy flow and pipelines, etc. Okay. There is such a huge community of creators using this thing in a like mind, like blowing way what they create. But would I be able to give you names? I don't know. They don't have, they like, who made it now to a place where I can give you names about it? I don't know. We even showed people, like when we were in Charleston, we showed people what is doing with this things, and people was like, wow, like I have been trying to do this for a year and I never understood how to make this. But the thing is that then to arrive, like the moment that you arrive, it's like the poets, right? That we were talking about last time. I think that the big revolution was created when they created what they have created. And then after a year, they made it to the market. So I don't think that it's like innovation is over, but you understand that when you're dealing with collectors and art market and art exhibition, you're not like the experimentation sits somewhere else. So the only hope is that you do both, because what makes it to be collected is already like, it's already not avant-garde anymore, because it means that you already have an audience who is ready to collect. If you already have an audience who is ready to buy, it means that it's already late. Usually at the beginning, when people are not ready to buy because they're like, what is like, why would I buy like something created with comfy UI? Like, no. Then it's when you're pushing limits. When you make it to the market, which I'm very happy when artists do, because they already did, you know, what they had to do, then obviously we're talking about like that idea or that technique or that like concept is already like, let's say, accepted by society. And then of course they can continue with new things. But names of people who are revolutionary, okay, operator. I think that what operator did for choreography is a miracle, is something, it was something that is like historically miraculous, because they, for the first time, besides the project that was amazing, Human or Readable, they gave the possibility for choreography to be collected for the first time in history. So now let's talk about it. So now it's collect. So they created that. Now the method that they have created with all the movements is open source and everyone can use it. So Hermine Bourdain has, she's a French artist, sculptor. Last week, she presented at the Opera in Paris.
What's her name?
Hermine, I'm gonna write it here.
Okay.
And the project is Codes. So Hermine, who is a sculptor, she used the method of Human or Readable by operator. And so she like created this sculpture, and then the dancer, the performer, who is a performer from the Opera of Paris, she used the moves from the library that was created by operator for generative choreography. The question is, once that the choreography was brought to market like in 2023, and you know, like this thing was pushed because nobody knew what it means to collect choreography. It was like month and month of talking to people to let them understand you can actually collect choreography. Like, this is a piece of because it's not only a digital artwork that you get, but behind that you get all the moves, and you own the moves on the blockchain, and you can get performer, like you own the performance, and you can like hire performers and reproduce this performance is yours. Like you own a piece of choreography. So after that revolution was made, is the project at the opera amazing? It was amazing, the project that they have done last week. Is it like pushing the limits? The limits were pushed. Now it's, thank God, it's time to use it. And maybe they're pushing some limits because they're presented in a place at the opera or other things, but the choreography was, you know, like the thing happened a year ago. So that's where I say, like, when you make it to market, then you have to be onto the next one thing. Otherwise, it's fantastic. And we don't only need innovators, you know, we need art. So the Hermine Bourdain project is amazing. But I don't know if it's pushing as like Human or Readable itself. I guess.
Okay, thank you.
But no, thank you. Okay, I want to ask about a specific situation regarding royalties. As part of the workshop the other day, we minted our first NFTs on Mint Dash. There it says on-chain royalties. NFT royalties are crypto payouts designed to provide creators a cut of secondary sales of their digital assets. This configuration will make royalties available to all marketplaces that support the EIP 2981. No, I don't know EIP 20. What blockchain are doing that? And if the promise of a cut on secondary market is guaranteed, considering what OpenSea did at one moment to creators in times of crisis. Also, OpenSea, some artists say creator earning 10%. Do you know who is paying that percentage to a creator on secondary market? Allora, let's start from the bottom. OpenSea royalties are not mandatory anymore. Okay. Who pays 10%? We said earlier, the collector. So the collector who is going to resell the work has to pay the 10%. And this is why there is incentives for collectors to not, so like, no, when I mint the NFT or when I buy the NFT, I decide that I will not pay royalties. Okay. Let's look for this standard because maybe it's something that I doubt it's on Ethereum, but what is EIP 29? It is Ethereum. Proposal introduced to the Ethereum community to establish a standard for NFT rights. Ah, it's the standard for the royalties. Okay. So EIP 2981 is a proposal introduced to the Ethereum community to establish a standard for NFT royalty payments. It provides a clear framework for developers to implement royalty functionality into their NFT projects, ensuring creators receive a predetermined percentage of future work sales. Does OpenSea support EIP 2981? OpenSea does not support EIP 2981. You need to have contract level metadata implemented in your FLT contract to add royalties for the collection. Okay, so I don't, look, this is what I know. I would say what I know. There's always a way to go around royalties. Because if I buy your NFT on Mint Dash, which it's a platform that I don't know, and I have this NFT, and I decide to sell this NFT outside of Mint Dash, there is no way on earth, and this was never coded, and everyone can do this, that I'm gonna pay royalties. I simply pass the token that I own to a person that I want to sell to. I take it out of the platform, I put it on another platform. I take it out of, like, it is in my wallet, I'm just gonna pass to Telma and I'm gonna sell her that, and royalties are not paid. So there's always a way to not pay royalties. What was more scandalous was that it was supported by a platform like with a click, like with an option. You can pay 0%, 5%, 10%. But I don't know much about EIP 2981, which I will look into. Actually, I'm gonna ask someone who I know here that can tell me more. So maybe we can also like talk about this for 2 minutes tomorrow. But to answer your question about the cut, if there is a promise of secondary market is guaranteed, there's never, because there's always a way to not pay royalty if you want to. It's not, you can't enforce. You can enforce with the code, but you can't enforce like to pass a token on the blockchain without the platform. Does it make sense?
Okay. from the darkness of my room. Now, don't know why it's so dark. It's not so dark. Anyway, do you have any other question? Or maybe we can continue tomorrow for the fourth day of webinar. Tell me if you don't have any question. We can close now. Maybe there is a.
It's just interesting, like project. Very
Ah,
magic,
yeah.
so Alexander. Magic innovations combine dance and technology to create captivating projection show holographic 4D cube future technology such as yeah. I'm gonna watch this. And now he also sold his NFTs. Oh, sorry. Okay, I'll watch this. Thank you.
Thanks, Natasha.
Eleonora, are you going to send us the links of the
Yes,
websites?
I'm gonna send it now because otherwise okay, so
Okay.
this is the WAC lab resource. Please go through this website because I even texted my friend today and I told her that I am ashamed that that I didn't look into this much better until now. The Notion link, I have asked her if I can share. She didn't answer yet, so I can share tomorrow once that she answers the Notion page. I think so, but I want to confirm with her because this is like public online. So this is where you find everything, like really, like many information. Thelma is back to light.
Yes, out from the darkness. Okay, so thank you, Eleonora.
Thank
Was very
you.
interesting. Yes, also this webinar. And thank you all of you for the question, for your FOV to follow so actively the webinar. Thank you. So we will see you tomorrow for the next webinar, always same time. Okay.
Yeah, see you tomorrow for the blockchain as a medium, and thank you for participating in the discussion. See you tomorrow.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.